Oh boy, this one is going to be one of those hot take videos, so get ready. Now, I've never been one to do top 10 lists on this channel. I think for better or for worse, there's like a whole bunch of that already going on, specifically in a wrestling YouTube space. But I was having a conversation with my cousin and his best friend about watching like weekly television, and I personally have to take that weekly television, wrestling wise, whether it's AEW or WWE, is just bad. It's just not entertaining. And we got in a brief argument about what makes wrestling good and what makes it, well, the match that I'm talking about today. As speaking for me personally, MJF versus Adam Cole is maybe the worst match of all time, but I'll get into that later. And before I get into that, now I know that some of you may be thinking that that is blasphemy, and I can't even blame you for that reaction, as even some of AEW's harshest critics is probably thinking I'm going too far with that statement, especially given some of the bullshit that AEW has produced in its 6 years of existence. But with that being said, I have made a list of the top 10 worst matches I've ever seen. And in terms of this, it gets no worse than this for me talking about AEW. Now, again, that I don't have a specific order and we'll get to the list later. I know for sure that this is the worst AEW match of all time. And I didn't just pull these matches out of thin air. I actually have a criteria with 5 signifiers whether a match is good or bad. Number 1 on this criteria being replayability. Can I rewatch this match more than once and is still enjoyed to a high degree, if not more than the first time I watched it? And can I catch things I didn't notice before? Number 2 on this criteria is the story. This can be from the build up into the match or just the story being told in a ring. Is it good? Does it make sense? Again, can I go back and rewatch it and notice things that I did not notice before? Is there layers to the story? Number 3 on this list being impact. Now, this one is kind of hard to determine, as sometimes impact isn't felt until years later, but sometimes the impact is felt immediately, positively or negatively. Number 4 on my criteria, if a match is good, can I show this match to someone who's never watched wrestling and make them a fan? And last but not least, number 5, simply put, was the match entertaining? I know this kind of contradicts the other 4 rules, as this is completely subjective, but to that, I would say, fuck you, this is my list. You can miss 1 or 2 things off this list and still have a good match. 3 things, you're very much pushing it. I don't know about that. If you're missing 4 things off this criteria, let's be honest, you just have the average AEW match in 2025. But missing all 5 rules of my criteria gets you the fuckery that was MJF versus Adam Cole. I refuse to watch this match again. The story was terrible and it didn't make a lick of sense. It's literally the match and or feud that began the downfall of AEW television. More on that in a different video, and I cannot wait to make that video. Stay tuned. And number 4 for the criteria, I would definitely be embarrassed to sit someone down for this 40-minute sword fight. And you know what I mean by sword fight. And no, it was not entertaining whatsoever. And what's crazy is this match featured MJF, the future of the business. Whether that's in AEW or WWE, Maxwell Jacob Friedman is the future of wrestling. And on the other side of the ring was Adam Cole, and albeit a niche legend, he was someone who we assume was just at the start of his prime and just needing a platform to show his skills. And at the time where AEW was very much at a crossroad, no pun intended, Cody Rhodes was no longer keeping the ship together behind the scenes. There was a civil war backstage with CM Punk and the other big stars. If I'm using stars very loosely here, watch this video if you don't know what I'm talking about. I broke it down for like 2.5 hours. Yeah, it was a whole lot of mess at this time. This was the perfect time for MJF and Adam Cole to step up and be the stars to carry AEW into the future. But what they did with that opportunity, and much like AEW's popularity, they carried it, threw it over their shoulders, and Brock Lesnar F5'd any hope this company had of competing with WWE. Started with the terrible build, the 40-minute jack-off session at the biggest wrestling show of all time, allegedly, and then this dragged out story that came out afterwards. Again, we'll get to that later, maybe more in detail in a different video, but for now, sit back, kick back, relax, grab a snack, and let me tell you about the worst AEW match of all time. To really get why I believe this is the worst AEW match ever, I have to give you the background on why I was even so hyped up in the first place. See, the champion at the time was MJF, Maxwell Jacob Freeman, again with no exaggeration, bona fide future of AEW, if not overall wrestling. This man in his mid-20s, even the early 20s if I'm being honest, not glazing, I promise. He had aura, the charm, mic skills, and in-ring skills of a 20-year veteran. And he was also an AEW original who didn't really have to spend too much time on the independent wrestling scene due to his age, how talented he was, and really just the perfect timing of AEW being created early into his wrestling career. Being handpicked by future WWE champion Cody Rhodes himself, this of course giving him the well-deserved boost right out the gate, having star-making feuds with Cody Rhodes, teaming up with Chris Jericho, and eventually having the greatest feud in AEW history with my GOAT, CM Punk. That's no bias. If you ask any serious AEW fan, they would tell you that MJF versus CM Punk feud was the best. In hindsight, the CM Punk and MJF feud was really a passing of the torch moment, as from that moment, MJF was the biggest star in AEW and it was his company from there on out, which of course led to him winning the company's top prize, the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. And honestly, it wasn't the best title reign, to no fault of Max. He had really no competition outside of like Bryan Danielson, of course. He had no one to really have to climb up to their level. He did have a great match with Ricky Starks, but we all knew that there was absolutely no chance that Ricky Starks was taking the title from Max. And if you feel how I feel, wrestling is at its best when we don't know who's gonna win. But for most of the time, it was like there was no reason to take the title off Max because he's the biggest star, and not even just how big of a star he was, it was like who he was facing, like we can't even see them as a world champion for real. There was really no better example of this than the Four Pillars match. To briefly explain the Four Pillars, it was handpicked by either management or the AEW crowd. It was 4 AEW originals who were young stars in the AEW, to be specific, who everybody just thought that they were going to be the future of the company. And this was Max and maybe, if you're being nice, Darby carrying in 2 other wrestlers no one truly really gave a damn about. So after this, what was next? Like at that point, we were about 8 months into Max's title reign, and there was really only one real contender at the time. Enter the legendary Adam Cole. Adam Cole, like I said before, is an underground legend. If he was a film, he'd be a cult classic, because depending on the person you ask, Adam Cole can range from the all-time great wrestler to, at worst, just being a good wrestler. He, unlike Max, spent a literal decade cutting his teeth, gaining experience outside of the mainstream wrestling promotions. Adam began wrestling in 2008 and never touched WWE until 2017. And although most casual fans know him as the leader of the Undisputed Era in NXT, most diehard wrestling fans adore him due to his time in the indies such as in Ring of Honor and CZW, and of course his time in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Me personally, I miss all of his time outside of WWE, and to be honest, I miss most of his time in NXT. And to be quite honest, I didn't really even start watching Adam Cole until the invasion angle in 2019 when NXT invaded WWE, the main roster, because he was on the developmental brand. And at that time, the developmental brand was very much in limbo. They lost the rating war to AEW, which pissed off a certain roided up billionaire. The pandemic, of course, did not help, and that overall era of NXT really ran its course. See, NXT was never supposed to be a third wrestling brand. Like I said, it was supposed to be a developmental, and that's when it was at its best, when it was treated that way. Adam Cole and those guys were in NXT for about 4 years with no end in sight. And in hindsight, seeing how all of those guys turned out, they probably should have stayed in developmental longer. But again, that's a different video for a different day. So with it being time for a change of scenery for Adam and his contract expiring at the same time, fans were speculating on what was the next move for the indie legend. Go to the main roster where the owner looks at you as nothing more than a manager, or go to the other company where the owner sees you as a future face of the business. And I'm gonna be honest, that's a very easy decision. So after graciously signing a contract extension with WWE to finish the feud and put over his former tag team partner, Adam Cole participated in an all-time AEW and overall wrestling moment. This was one of the greatest wrestling moments ever. You had to be there, honestly. It was in the main event of All Out 2021. He, alongside another independent wrestling and WWE legend, Daniel Bryan, debuted literally minutes apart from each other to fully plant AEW's flag on the map. As this was the same night CM Punk made his in-ring debut for AEW and had his first match in 7 years. This was arguably the peak of AEW, and Adam Cole played a big part of that without even having a match. So with all of this hype and momentum, it's really hard to believe anybody could have fumbled it. And to be fair, they didn't necessarily fumble it. It was more so like a death by 1,000 cuts. He, for some reason, immediately joined the Young Bucks, who are just... that's a different video for a different day. It just is. And then him and the Young Bucks lost his first pay-per-view match to Christian Cage, Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, and Luchasaurus. And if you thought that was bad, his first singles feud was against a literal company mascot, and the only guy he looks bigger than, freshly squeezed Orange fucking Cassidy. And he lost that feud too. It's very unserious. It's very unserious. And I won't get too much into his AEW run, as I do plan on making a future video about both of their careers in more detail. But as you can see, it was not going well, to say the least. Made even somehow worse when Adam would suffer a severe career-threatening concussion. This injury put Adam on a shelf for 7 fucking months, which was probably a blessing in disguise, if I'm being honest, as it gave him a chance to reset and actually gain sympathy from the audience. This led to Adam returning under a unfamiliar role as the good guy on the main stage, and it was made obvious that AEW not only did not lose any trust in Adam Cole's star power, they doubled down on that shit. Adam Cole was all over the promotional material, and low-key AEW built their, like, it was a weird, like, short stint, but it was a new reality show that they had, and it was basically built around him recovering from that concussion. They really believed in Adam, so of course what they did with that was throw him into a feud with Chris Jericho. So after a lot, and I mean a whole lot of nonsense with the Chris Jericho vortex, that's a whole video within itself, Adam Cole would somehow become a top contender for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. This, of course, starting a feud with our champion, MJF. That would lead him to the topic of this video. But before we can actually talk about the match that is the reason we're even making this video, Adam and Max would have their first match on that episode of Dynamite. And it wasn't even a world title match. It was a title eliminator match, which is basically if Adam lost, he would not get a world title shot. But if he won, he got the world title shot. Yeah, I guess that's what's up. This match will end in what's become almost a trope at best and lazy booking at worst, as this match will end in a 30-minute draw. I say this is lazy due to the fact that, especially around this time, when Tony Khan didn't want a feud to end, or he did not want either guy in the match to lose, he would just do this draw. Like, there's so many examples, especially again around this time, it was so many, and it was lazy. It was super lazy and repetitive, and it was uncreative, as it proved that he just couldn't come up with something better to keep the fans intrigued until the final blow-off match. But I digress. And on top of that, this is also very much counterproductive due to the fact that if the rivalry is still ongoing and we've already seen 30 minutes of a match between these two competitors, what more could we actually see from them that'll be different? Like, imagine before you watch Dave Chappelle's stand-up special, you go to a local show to where he practices the same material to a lesser audience. Like, do you see the problem in that? Now, I'm not saying rematches are all bad. My favorite matches of all time are mostly rubber matches, but an AEW rubber match in particular is a major red flag, as AEW storytelling is a weakness to say the least. And on top of that, of course, they have no producers, meaning they have no one to manage the match and tell them things like, hey, you did that power driver 8 times last match, maybe let's not do it 9 times here. Or, hey, Max, you have a neck injury, maybe you shouldn't kick out of a power driver on steel steps. And if these examples sound too specific, stay tuned for the nonsense. So after the time limit draw, it was obvious that Max and Adam would have a rematch, but when that rematch would occur was the big question at the time, as there was no pay-per-view until All In, a whole 2 months later. This was the worst possible thing, as at the time Tony Khan and whoever was booking MJF at the time was obviously creatively bankrupt. So someone decided in the creative team with all their creativity, and they decided it was a good idea to put these two teams in a tag team and have them in a world tag team tournament. See, this isn't inherently a bad idea, as Max was a genuine fan of Adam Cole, even posting a young Adam Cole before he even made it big as an inspiration of his when he was just 20 years old and just beginning his wrestling training. And by all accounts, Adam Cole is a super cool dude and one of the best guys you could have in your locker room. It seemed that as much of a dickhead as he was on television as a bad guy, he was equally, if not more, of a sweetheart behind the scenes. So it's not hard to root for these two guys as a tag team. It's just normal AEW fashion. They made a complete joke out of it. And not even a good joke. It was weekly awful skits I just couldn't get jiggy with. And worst of all, they were teasing, turning on each other like the entire time. And I understand that it was something that the audience was just waiting to happen, and it plays into both characters, but it was teased weekly for about 8 weeks straight. And I can only describe it as, imagine a Batman reboot where they show the night where his parents got robbed and shot, but instead of getting it out the way, they just keep having homeless people walk up to the Waynes asking for money, or Bruce is playing with a toy gun and shoots his father with it. It was just like too much. It was like, I get addressing the elephant in the room, but damn, like, have you ever heard of the term too much on the nose? It was that, like, specifically. Anyways, they would, of course, win the tournament, but would end up losing the tag title match. Soon after, Max just basically gifted Adam a world title shot on the literal, maybe not literal, alleged biggest wrestling show ever. And I'm not even kidding. Max literally said, "You're my best friend, and because of that, here's a world title match." And then this somehow lead into them having a world title shot for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships on the pre-show. What? Now, like, just really take a second and imagine that. Imagine John Cena and Cody Rhodes competing for the TNA Tag Team Championship on the pre-show on like YouTube or something. Trust me, this isn't a AEW versus WWE thing. This is a what the fuck is going on type of thing. And that was the build for the main event for the literal biggest show in wrestling history, allegedly. So with all of this being said, no matter what happens during the build, we'll forgive the nonsense as long as the match is fire. Like, remember Sasha versus Bianca? Like, yeah, like very unserious wrestling television. But when you put these two stars and all-time talents in a ring, give them time, what the fuck can go wrong? Honestly, everything. So now that you have the background of the worst AEW match of all time, and you have the build up to the worst AEW match of all time, how about we actually talk about the worst AEW match of all time? And if I haven't lost you yet and we're still on the right track, or maybe you just skipped to this, I appreciate you even for hearing me out, because again, I understand that it may not be the literal worst AEW match of all time. Of course, Jon Moxley isn't in it at all. Sorry. But I want you all to remember that everything that I'm about to tell you that transpired happened between the two wrestlers that AEW decided was the future of their company. The two stars they trusted to main event the biggest wrestling show of all time. Allegedly. And I don't know if this counts in your criteria, but I must admit it did not start off too bad, as Adam Cole and Max both made some spectacular entrances. Max was literally carried to the ring with women under him, like literally bowing on their knees, which fit his character, even with the bad comedy he's been doing recently. Adam Cole, on the other hand, had a basic entrance, but hearing the audience say Adam Cole, baby, in that large capacity was definitely a sight to see, and can't be taken away from Adam, no matter how bad, just overall terrible the next 30 minutes was. Yes, 30 minutes plus, more if you add the nonsense post-match, but we'll get to that in this bit. Most of this match's runtime could be cut down if you cut out the corny nonsense that they spent the first 5 minutes of the match doing, such as taunting to the crowd, handshakes, and I bullshit you not, leaving the ring, going under the ring, and putting on their tag team shirt at the same time. Yes, the biggest show in company and allegedly wrestling history was main evented by two guys wearing the same exact shirt. So we basically have to assume that they premeditatedly, I know I butchered that word, but stick with me here. We have to assume that they, before the show, put those shirts under the ring. If we just speak in kayfabe wise, if we're just assuming that wrestling is real, even though they just kill all that nonsense, they kill, if any doubt you had that wrestling was fake or real, they kill that in the next 30 minutes. But let's just say you even thought it was. You have to buy it as a byproduct, assume that these two guys put two shirts under the ring. What? We're just in the first 5 minutes, folks. Like, now, luckily, Adam Cole would put a stop to all this nonsense by slapping the piss out of Max and then immediately working on MJF's neck. Now, I'm not sure if this was something that specifically mentioned before, like just leading up to the match. I'm pretty sure it was. I vividly remember it was, but I may be tripping on that. And I'm not even sure if it was real or not, but it was definitely a part of this match. It was established early in this match as something that we need to watch out for. Remember that. And that's great. That's not a bad thing. That's something for the audience to keep in mind that raises the stakes. But just remember, it was established early in the match that Max had a neck injury. And with that neck injury being very apparent, Adam began digging his feet in, being the bad guy in this match, viciously attacking his best friend's neck, even trash talking him while he was selling the neck. And again, this is great. Honestly, Adam is a great heel, but unfortunately on the other end, Max is not a great, hell, he's not even a good babyface at this time. And now that I really think about it, that's really where the biggest problem I have with this match begins. And somehow this bad guy with a glass jaw becomes super fucking Cena and just no sells all the damage that Adam was doing to his neck, literally fighting from underneath for about 5 to 6 minutes, then randomly doing a Shawn Michaels level kip up and no selling the neck as if the match just literally started. Adam would eventually get back on the offensive side, only becoming more of a heel, especially with the trash talk, even going as far as to rip Max's shirt off that they had their tag team name on it, the one that they put under the shirt before the show started. It was a good bit of storytelling until Max did his best Hogan impression and literally hulked up, no selling Adam's punches and doing a comeback and taunting to the crowd as if the show was about to just go to commercial. This was all in the first 8 minutes of a 30-minute match. To say the least, the pacing of this match was awful. Next up, in true AEW fashion, Max would do a suicide dive, further no selling the neck injury. And to his praise, from here, Max would show why he has the potential to be the next face of the entire wrestling business with some amazing wrestling moves and other feats of athleticism. But that was all stifled when Max hesitated to hit his friend with the power driver on the steel steps. Don't ask me how they got to the steel steps from doing amazing maneuvers in the ring. I don't really remember. But like I said, Max would hesitate, to which Adam would take advantage and do a fucking brain buster on these steel steps. And remember, Max has a injured fucking neck. So logic would tell you one or two things. Adam Cole would put Max in the ring and cover him for the 1, 2, 3. Or at worst, Max would lose in a countout. But let's really think about that latter option for a second. Why the fuck would Adam let Max get counted out when the title can't change hands on a countout or disqualification? So of course, with that logic being explained to you, you could imagine what AEW decided to do with this match. Adam would stand in the ring and look stupid and watch as Max get counted out like a fucking dumbass. But luckily for Adam, Super Cena would jump up at the count of 9 and re-enter the ring. This somehow led to Max fighting back and tearing apart the announce table. Again, don't ask me, I completely forgot. I'm gonna be honest with you. And again, I'm not rewatching this fucking match, so just take my word for it. He was tearing apart the announce table, all the while sporadically forgetting to sell the neck that just got dropped on steel fucking steps. He then again refused to pull the trigger against his buddy and refused to tombstone power driver him on the announce table, to which Adam Cole again took advantage and instead power drove Max onto the table. And if you don't know what a power driver is basically dumping your fucking neck on whatever's underneath us. This time, Adam, for some reason, was smart enough to put Max in a ring and immediately cover him for the win, to which Max, of course, turned into Prime John Cena again and kicked out at 2. Literally 30 fucking seconds after being damn near paralyzed, if not killed, Max was doing a yay boo spot with Adam, then somehow led to Max no-selling a Canadian Destroyer, which is basically a power driver like I just explained, fucking just dumping your head on whatever is underneath us, whether it's concrete or an announce table. Instead, a Canadian Destroyer is that, but we're flipping this time. So we are jumping and then your head is crashing to whatever is beneath us. This is great. This is great television here. And of course, these fans ate it the fuck up. Because this was the literal definition of a video game fucking match. Like, I used to have these. Like, I don't know if y'all remember. Like, I used to have these matches on SmackDown versus Raw where it went so long that the CPU had a full, like, red health. Like, their whole body was red from head to toe. And it was going on so long that commentators wasn't even commentating anymore. Like, this was the real life version of that. Adam was just doing all of these 2K16 OMG moments, and Max was just the CPU on legendary difficulty and just would not lose. He just would not lose. And remember, the same fans that were chanting AEW to this nonsense were hating Super Cena 14 years ago. I don't get it. That's not the topic of this video, but just, yeah. If you think the crowd plays a part in how much a good match is, yeah, just think about that for a second. After both beat the refs 10 count, they both performed their tag team finisher, which was basically a simple double clothesline on each other. Yeah. And I also should announce on top of that, if that's not bad enough, they announced it beforehand as if it was a war cry. Like, they literally pointed at each other and said double fucking clothesline. They didn't say the fucking part, but I'm just very annoyed by even just restating what the fuck happened in this match. It was just very unserious grabs, ladies and gentlemen. Just very unserious. And even more unserious, this led to a double pin, therefore another damn draw. Adam cried about extending the match 5 more minutes, to which Max milked as if he wasn't down for it. Then they said they'll wrestle until they have a winner. And I'm trying not to cuss, but he actually cussed here. So we said we're not going to stop till we have a fucking winner in Wembley. And immediately, like, I remember feeling something inside of me just die of cringe. I don't know if it was just the way it was delivered or just I was hoping that this was just over. I don't know. Or like maybe it was just like, why the fuck did that even happen in the first place? What was that? Was it just for a cheap pop? I don't. Soon after the match restarted, the ref got knocked down, leaving Max as the only man standing. So in true Max fashion, he would grab a steel chair and do the Eddie Guerrero spot where he would throw the chair for his opponent to catch and act as if he got hit with the weapon. Adam, of course, threw the chair back at Max, and then the two played a game of catch with the steel chair in the main event of the biggest fucking wrestling show in wrestling history, allegedly. Then they both just acted as if they got hit with the chair, which is levels of stupid that I can't even do justice. As again, Adam, you stupid fuck. If Max gets disqualified, you are counted out and you do not win the title. And Max, if you were going to get Adam disqualified, why would you restart the match in the first place? Why not just accept the draw? I only talk like this because I care. Believe it or not. After all this nonsense, Adam again went to the injured neck, this time doing a German suplex on the hardest part of the ring. And then for the cherry on top for this nonsense ice cream sundae, Adam then did his finisher move on the outside of the ring. His finisher is called the Panama Sunrise, which is basically what I described earlier, the Canadian Destroyer, except this time it's flipping. So it's basically a flipping power driver, which is basically dropping you on your fucking head, which is basically the move that ended Stone Cold Steve Austin's wrestling career. So by wrestling logic, MJF is Thanos and Stone Cold is that weak dude who had to be protected by Wanda. I forgot his name. Was it Vision? Is his name Vision? I think it's Cable. No, that's the dude who fought Deadpool. I don't know. It's the guy, he got beasted in Infinity War. And he had the yellow stone. That's basically Stone Cold compared to MJF in this match. And on top of that, and of course, with all that being said, Max kicked out of this shit at 2. Super Cena shit. Adam would then somehow do the Panama Sunrise, his finisher on the referee, knocking his bum ass out again, leading to Max reverting to his bad guy ways and grabbing the dynamite ring he cheated with so many times in the past. This time though, he hesitated once again because Adam was his friend. Even though Adam tried to paralyze him and or kill him for 30 minutes straight. After about an entire 60 seconds of milking, doing the one thing that would even be remotely a heel move, and it would still even be justified, Max puts away the ring just to be kicked in the nuts by Roderick Strong. Roderick Strong is a teammate of Adam Cole dating back to NXT, maybe even earlier than that. I just honestly rather not talk about the teammates of Adam Cole. I think it's best for all of our sanities, as they all come out of this looking like a complete fucking joke. Let's just blame terrible booking and keep it pushing. After this interference, Roddy, who this entire situation, this entire feud was attempting to get Adam Cole away from MJF, he was basically begging Adam Cole to take advantage of the attack, to which Adam would hesitate, but eventually do his Panama Sunrise again to the injured neck, then pull down his knee pad, do his alternate finisher, which is essentially a running knee to the back of the neck to a 2 count. And at this point, we are beyond Super Cena. This is, if we're being honest, this is like Jason Voorhees level of pain tolerance. How can this be enjoyable to any fucking body? I don't get it. I don't get it. Just kickouts. It's just straight kickouts. If you're a kid, I get it because I love Super Cena, but what the fuck? Then old Roddy Strong would give Adam the world title, begging him to hit Max with the strap. Adam would again hesitate, milk the entire thing, symbolically take the tag team shirt off, then threw the title down and refusing to turn heel, as if he hasn't turned heel 457 times in this match already. After this whole ordeal, Max took advantage of a distracted Cole and rolled him up for the pin, and he won. He won off a fucking roll-up. Now, there is nothing inherently wrong with a roll-up after a long match. It's just the word that immediately came to my mind was just anticlimactic, I guess. I guess they put themselves into a pickle though, as if they just finished this match off with a finisher. It wouldn't make sense as if they just kicked out a 200 finisher. So I guess, man, but you could have did like a chokehold or something. It was a million other ways they could have went about it, but this was anticlimactic. This led to Adam having another breakdown over losing, and then finishing off MJF's complete face turn. He tried to console Adam, telling him he got lucky and Adam could have easily won. Max then tried to show Adam the ROH titles, to which Cole understandably threw them titles away like a child. Like, who the fuck would want those bum ass titles? This triggered Max, who went off on a rage against Adam, accusing him of being a fake friend, and while crying offers him the championship, turns around and tells him to hit him in the back of the head with the championship. Adam, of course, would not go through with it, and the night ended off with a fucking hug. Yup. A fucking hug after tombstone power drivers and brain busters on steel championships. And I don't even know if I'm even saying this right. And maybe I think I'm getting it confused with the other 100 AEW matches just like this. Damn. But after all of these attempted murders and shit and tried to paralyze this man 1,000 times, y'all end up hugging to end the night. Like, who likes this shit? Who is this for? What was this purpose? I hate this. And it sounds cliche from me specifically, but this is literally every fucking thing wrong with AEW. Again, I have no desire to watch this match again. The story that they tried to tell in this match made 0 sense. The impact of this match I'll get into in a little bit, but just know it was nothing but negative. Using this match to make someone a wrestling fan would be the equivalent of showing someone who's never seen a Family Guy episode, one of those Star Wars themes episodes. Y'all know what I'm talking about when they was doing the whole Star Wars thing. It's not that it's not good. It's just the simple fact that it's not sustainable. It's like, yeah, I could watch it every now and then. Yeah, I could watch it like every other season. But watching that 10 times in one night is like, what the fuck, bro? Like, damn, every time, every match got to go 30 minutes. Every match got to have 30 kickouts. Damn. Again, I only talk like this because I care. Man, because if you ask me, the match was not entertaining. It was more so annoying. I'm not happy that I had to watch this match again for this video. I am happy that I don't have to delete this entire project I'm working on about this feud. But as bad as this match was, and it was very fucking bad, remember, this series isn't just about critiquing how bad these matches were, but the build and also how bad the fallout was. And this fallout from this match has consequences we are still recovering from to this day. And honestly, I don't know if we'll ever recover from them. So after this, to put it quite frankly, dud of a match, an overall event, we were left with MJF as a babyface, tag team champions who are supposed to be rivals, I guess. And worst of all, no CM Punk. So MJF is engraved as the biggest star in the company at the time, where he's in a position he's quite frankly not ready for. Not that he isn't ready to be the biggest star in the company, he isn't ready to be the biggest star in the company while being a babyface. In hindsight, there's no wonder the company fell off from here. They built it around people who was in positions they just simply were not ready for. Obviously, the MJF and Adam Cole stuff continued, but what would happen next was, like they say with life, when it rains, it pours. Or I think I got a good example, and y'all follow me along with it. This was equivalent to being stranded in the pouring rain, then getting stabbed and mugged like Stewie Griffin used to be. You know that gag in Family Guy? I'm tying up these Family Guy references. So with Max and Adam being in limbo, a new contender rolls up, and it was Samoa Joe, and Samoa Joe would of course get his match, but with Adam Cole still being involved. So Adam Cole interfered the match and for some reason was running down a ramp, and AEW at the time had a elevated ramp, and for some reason he jumped off this elevated ramp and his ankle just basically fucking exploded. See, Adam Cole is not the Adam Cole of old for some reason. He is just not as big as he used to be. He's not in the shape that he used to be. And there was really no major big concerns until the injury started piling up on the main stage. Like I said before, he had the concussion, and now this seemed to throw whatever plans that AEW had into limbo, as on the same night that Adam announced his injury to the AEW crowd, a masked man and some assailants attacked MJF's next apparent rival, Jay White, which I won't get into too much because, spoiler alert, that match may be on the list as well. Probably, most definitely. It's on the list. This, of course, was the downfall for MJF as a wrestler, not in terms of like athleticism or just the moves he could do, but more in terms of his star power and his performance, as Max was literally carrying this company on his back, but that became like he had that Cena effect. He was literally becoming John Cena, where it was just like, yo, I'm just tired of seeing this guy. It was too fucking much. There was times where he was defending his title. I might be wrong on this, but I swear at least once he defended his title 3 times in 1 week. Like, this was the same dude who would only defend his title like once every other month. Then he was defending it like 3 times in 1 week, at bare minimum twice. Cause I remember there was 1 week he defended it against Kenny Omega and then somebody else. I forgot who the other person was. Forgive me, but I know like he was doing a whole lot of shit. It became obvious in hindsight that Adam Cole was the masked figure that was named the Devil. The whole thing was very much dragged out, as the ankle injury that Adam suffered was not healing properly, literally leading to Adam having to get bone marrow donated to him. Like, think about it. Like, sit back and really think about it. This man got a goddamn ankle transplant. He literally has somebody else's ankle in place of his ankle. What the fuck? Eventually, Max would lose the world championship, and we would, of course, learn that Adam was the Devil and Roddy was one of the henchmen, and I'll get into that in more detail in the bigger project. But this was, of course, just like the match at All In, very just anticlimactic. That is the best word for it. It was bad. It was the low point of Max's career, and this was at World's End, which is AEW's annual pay-per-view. That is, they try to make it on the last day or the last Sunday of each year, which meant that this was the last match of MJF's initial AEW contract. And speaking for me personally, this was highly disappointing, as I always assumed that the bidding war of 2024 was going to be a big storyline, as Max was just hyping it up for the last 3 years. I thought the plan was to recreate the 2011 CM Punk Money in the Bank situation, as everything lined up, including Max holding the company's World Heavyweight Championship. But ultimately, it was reported in the dirt sheets and spoiled that he was just taking time off to heal the very real neck injury and also a shoulder injury on top of that. Adam, in the meantime, was still very much injured with no timeline on his return, trying to manage his new stable. This stable, of course, flopped, only getting real TV time for about a couple months, as without Adam Cole on a consistent basis, there was no way they could gain momentum if they had any to begin with. Adam Cole tried to be the group's mouthpiece, but he got further exposed as not even being that great at being on the mic. So the solution was to just basically have him disappear until Max returned. And when that did happen, don't get me wrong, it was a very big deal, but I immediately remember being disappointed, and it felt anticlimactic again as he returned as a very obvious babyface in a Triple H outfit and a goddamn AEW tattoo on his, what was his, like his Achilles, or no, it was on his calf. It was very cringe, man. It was cringe. It was literally the most AEW thing ever, just playing to the crowd for a cheap pop. And it was disappointing, to say the least. Max was not a great babyface. Yeah, he could make you hype for a moment, but keeping you interested was just not something he could do as a babyface. And of course, I didn't expect him to return as a heel, as there was no way the AEW fans were going to boo him, but he gave a lukewarm promo that didn't feel like we got the reset from him that we so desperately needed at the time. Again, I'll get into his whole momentum fall off in a bigger project, but it was looking very bleak even when he was the world champion. The only positive that came from this was he basically just buried Adam Cole, which literally everyone hoped was meaning that he was just done with him, showing how far that Adam had just fallen off the face of the earth in terms of popularity. Max would eventually turn back heel, as it was only so long AEW could ignore the fact that their biggest star wasn't ready to be a babyface yet. Adam Cole would eventually return from the ankle injury as a babyface, unfortunately to finish the feud with MJF. But the feeling wasn't the same. Even with MJF being the heel, it just wasn't the same. The audience was literally cut by a fourth. Max's aura was all gone, and Adam was a shell of who we thought he was 5 years ago, basically. We couldn't recognize what we saw in these two guys literally just a year ago. Max nor Adam was anywhere near being world championship contenders, nor were they even close to being the biggest stars in the company. After being surpassed by the likes of Will Ospreay, Hangman Adam Page, and Swerve Strickland, while also competing with legends for the spotlight like Samoa Joe, Adam Copeland, and Kenny Omega, and not even to mention Bryan Danielson, who was on the edge of retirement. It's very unfortunate, as at one point these two were supposed to be what Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns is to WWE now. LeBron and Steph Curry was to the NBA in the mid 2010s. Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, The Rock and Stone Cold. Now at best, honestly, I can't even think of a fucking comparison. Trust me, I tried. Max nowadays is trying to build himself back up for a short amount of time. He did have some momentum as part of the Hurt Syndicate, but that was short-lived for whatever fucking reason. I would personally put my money on him holding the AEW World Championship next after Hangman Adam Page, as he does hold AEW's version of the Money in the Bank, where he can cash in the contract for a title match at any time of his choosing. But honestly speaking, like, who really wants to see Max on top right now? For example, he's in a feud with Mark Briscoe, and it's, to put it lightly, a channel turner, as he just keeps insulting Mark's late brother, Jay Briscoe. At one time, this may have been shocking and edgy, but now it's just tasteless and unnecessary. But at one point, this would have made you want to see Max get his ass whooped. Now it just makes you want to stop watching him entirely. Adam, on the other hand, is again dealing with injuries, as he suffered another concussion on a random episode of Dynamite or Collision, I'm not really sure. And ironically, Adam announced this concussion at the same event this match that I'm talking about took place at 2 years prior. Unfortunately, this concussion is career threatening, and we may never see Adam Cole in a ring again. And at this point, it's probably for the best, as Adam is not the performer he used to be, and none of us want to see him in worse shape than he's in already. But if you were to tell me after that all-in main event in 2023 that Maxwell Jacob Friedman and Adam Cole would be washed up channel changers with a career-threatening injury, I would not be surprised at all, because that match told me everything I needed to know about them. And that match is why they are where they are today. Channel changers who I honestly don't see being that great anymore. I have no interest in watching either of these guys anymore. I don't even recognize them from 2 years ago. And that's why MJF versus Adam Cole at All In 2023 is the worst AEW match of all time. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you made it into this overly explained breakdown of a match I absolutely hate, I hope somehow you came out of this feeling something, whether you agree with it or you disagree with it, or whatever you feel about it. Please just let me know in the comments. Of course, there are 9 other matches on this list, and I would love for you guys to just be here this entire series, as this channel was meant to create discussions about wrestling, and this series can help you understand me more and what I like about wrestling, and also maybe look at wrestling a different way. And you can also help me do that as well by telling me your least favorite wrestling matches. Maybe you can even use my 5 metric system. Either way, make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. I really appreciate 1,000 likes on this video. And follow my socials. I post content on there as well, such as shorts on my Instagram and TikTok. Check your boy out. Y'all have a good day. Make someone smile, unlike these fucking matches on this list. Love you all. Y'all smack. Peace.